Yo, ladies and gentlemen, today we are going to learn how we can farm up to 3 emeralds per hour.
Wait, what? Is that right? 3 per hour? No, you like is it 3 per second? Per hour?
All right, 3 emeralds per hour. Let's get to it. So yes, this is not a great emerald farm, and I just want to start out by saying that this is meant for a very specific Skyblock world. For those of you that are not following Ilmango on YouTube and seeing his new Skyblock series that started up, a couple of things. First of all, why? Secondly, I'm going to put a link to his channel down the video description, and if you are not subbed to his YouTube, I highly recommend you go check it out. Puts out a lot of great Sidecraft content and has recently started a new Skyblock series where he's made it ultra hard mode. This is the Skyblock pack that he started on, and what he actually did is he replaced the oak tree with an acacia tree so that he can't get apples from the tree. And normally the process would be to get some villagers and make a golden apple and have the villagers get hit by a weakness potion. Then you can start trading with them to get emeralds. And then you can use those emeralds with the Wandering Trader for his unique trades. Well, without having access to oak, you need to get the emeralds first. So you need to get emeralds to get villagers, but you need to get villagers to get emeralds, but you need to get emeralds to get villagers. It's a whole thing. So he was talking about some possible plans to get emeralds, and it got me thinking about an old project that I wanted to pick back up, the Emerald Fox Farm. For those of you that didn't know, when foxes spawn, there is a chance that they're going to spawn with something in their mouth, and one of those things that they can spawn is actually an emerald. Unfortunately, these become difficult to actually get because the chances that it will spawn with the emerald are really low. So the theoretical max would be 23 emeralds per hour with this. And that's if you can get perfect spawns. That means every single mob spawning cycle, every 20 seconds, is going to spawn over the mob cap at 13 using pack spawning. So you need to have one of the spawn attempts fail, and then have another one successfully spawn all 4 in order to get that 13. And then you need to have the 20% of foxes that will spawn with something in their mouth, and then the 5% of those foxes that will spawn with an emerald. So, yeah. So back in the day when I first started this, that just made me drop the concept. There was, some ideas to be worked on, but it wasn't going to be worth it. Why would you ever need 23 emeralds per hour, even if you could get to that? Heck, you're looking at a lot less than that. Why would you even bother? However, on Skyblock, you have no other resources, so you can't find villagers somewhere. You're not going to be able to find emeralds in the end or anything like that. So how are you possibly going to get emeralds? Well, we're back to these guys. So I messaged Mango after he started the series that I had an old idea for a fox farm that I just kind of abandoned. And he said, well, actually, with what he's planning to do for Skyblock, that may actually be necessary. So I picked it back up, and we talked a bunch back and forth on Discord with some different ideas and floated some different concepts. And this is what we came up with. This fox farm averages 2.8 emeralds per hour. Now, again, that's not great, but if you're on a Skyblock world, you're already ready for the grind. So you're already accepting that you're going to AFK and all those types of things. But as you can see, we have foxes spawning on this spawning platform, and then they run towards this chicken in a boat. They then run right into this water column, and it's not a bubble column, it's just regular water column. It brings them up, and we do that so that we can just control the drops a little bit better and control their drowning a little bit better. They drown in here. But any babies that are going to spawn, they'll actually slip right out of there, so we can't count on that. So in this version right here, there are going to be 2 versions in the world download. Actually, Future Strom's stepping in. There's a few different ways to kill them. So if all you have access to is the wood like we've been talking about, there's going to be the powdered snow that I just mentioned. There's the other one coming up here in just a second. But Mango has actually decided to go for some other materials before he ended up getting to this point. And so he's going to be building his using prismarine, which means he also has access to the sandstone and to the prismarine walls. So we both started looking at some setups that were using walls because fences didn't work because they were too small. Things would just slip through there, but the wall's hitbox is much larger. And unfortunately, my attempts were not successful, but then Mango found this. But now both the adult foxes and the baby foxes get stuck in this setup. So we can see even the baby fox gets pushed up against there. And then by replacing this slab with a trapdoor up here, then they're still underwater, and then their drops can just flow right over the wall. So if you have access to some sort of stone, like your sandstone or your prismarine, this is the one I recommend. It's going to be in the world download. Otherwise, let's get back to the other two methods that we originally started with. This one uses powdered snow, and we're already assuming that you have water, so you've made a cauldron to get the water. And then you need to get the snow layers on here in order to get them to spawn. And then you also need to wait for the snow to cover up the area anyways, so that also means waiting for a powdered snow bucket or cauldron is not really that difficult. But if I fly over to this version right over here, we've gotten rid of the powdered snow and then replaced it with a wolf. We just need something to get rid of those babies because they're going to take up that passive mob cap. Now, unfortunately, if we put the wolf in there in a boat so that we can take him out of the mob cap, that means the items, they're actually going to get stuck on the edge of the boat and they're not going to make it to the hopper. If we drop this down so that the boat bounding box, and let me just turn that on right here, is then below the water so that the item can flow on top of it, then the boat is going to consider itself as waterlogged and it's going to spit the wolf out, and then it's not going to matter anyways. So we just have the wolf stand there in the center so that any foxes that are adults, they'll just drown in here. And then any babies, the wolf will take care of and get out of the mob cap. Now, babies can still have an item in their mouth, so we definitely still want to just get rid of those with the hopper and not have them fall into the void. But this is the reason why we don't use the wolf completely, because the wolf will actually get aggroed onto any foxes that it sees. And we can see like the baby is right there and not getting attacked by the wolf until the wolf then re-aggroes its target. And the powdered snow bucket is the same. We just put powdered snow on the hopper and items flow through powdered snow, so we don't have to worry about that. We'll still collect the items. And then we need to have these trapdoors here so that it thinks it can reach the chicken. So this ring is the size of the area of the detection range for a fox to be able to detect a chicken. So even all the way out here on the outer edge, it'll spawn and detect that chicken and still chase after it and run into the water. You may have noticed we've got foxes spawning on spruce planks. For those who didn't know, spruce planks and grass blocks are actually not the same block. So I did some code digging and found out that the foxes have a really funky spawn algorithm. So spoiler alert, if you are playing an Ilmango seed and you don't want to know the location of this, turn away right now. If you look at the top of my screen there, you can see that this whole biome is a snowy taiga. And foxes can spawn on snow blocks in snowy taiga. So that's where you have a full block of snow, not a snow layer on top. However, that also spawns wolves and rabbits. So one of the things that we were looking at when me and Mango were talking about was, well, maybe if we just put trapdoors on top to stop the wolves, and that worked. And that's actually what I had this ring left over from us when we were copying it over. But unfortunately, then also rabbits would spawn. And at first, the foxes will kill the rabbits. But then if you have rabbits over here and foxes over here, fox goes towards the chicken. And then eventually the mob cap gets filled up with rabbits over here. And the whole farm stops working. So we were looking at a bunch of different ways to try and figure out how we're either going to handle the wolves and rabbits or to stop them from spawning. Because the problem is wolves also attack foxes, and then their items are just going to drop on this platform and just be sitting there. So it turns out that if you have a snow layer on a solid block in the snowy taiga biome, a fox considers this to be a spawnable block. But the wolves and rabbits don't. So I tick warped this and ran it for the equivalent of, I think it was like 40 hours, something like that. Not a single wolf or rabbit spawns. We confirmed that. It's really wonky code for that spawning, but it considers this to be a spawnable block then. I would complain, but this is how Mango's going to get his emeralds that he needs. So that's a thing. You will also note that in the world download, as well as what we're seeing here, there's a bunch of different wood types here. So the spruce, birch, dark oak, acacia. This can all be one wood type. The only reason I did this is just while we were working on this, it's easier to do the replacements with world edit if I have different blot types that I can just do specific changes in the entire area. So this would normally be like in Mango's world, all acacia wood, acacia planks, acacia slabs, etc. That's just for being able to do replace statements. Now, normally you would want to make this out of just grass blocks or something and light it up, but in the Skyblock version that is on this mod, you don't start out with the materials that you need for a cobblestone generator. So you can't get a furnace to make charcoal torches. You don't have any light sources. You could grow a fungus tree using the nylium. So you would get some skeletons that spawn, get bone meal, hit this with bone meal until you get a fungus, and then hit the fungus with bone meal to grow a tree. But the problem is, if you're in random tick range of this, there is a good chance that eventually you're going to destroy this nylium and turn it into another rack. Just how grass turns into dirt when there's a log on top of it or another solid block on top of it, nylium turns to netherrack in the same way. And you could get lucky and end up getting maybe 200 or 300 trees out of it before it happens because it's random based. But because this is going to be the only way to get it in this world is by expanding it from these blocks, you're taking a big risk. So that left us with this platform right here. Now, this is not that 23 emeralds per hour. It was 2.8 when I tick warped it per hour. And the reason being is we don't have those perfect spawn conditions that we talked about. One, I don't even know how we'd get the pack spawning to guarantee that we'd get 13 every time with a single player mob cap. We don't have a very large spawning space because, again, we're not depending on having, multiple of these chambers, although you could build this over multiple times and stack this as long as you have snowy taiga biome. And then the next spawning cycle also comes before the previous babies are actually dead. Oh, speaking of which, there we go. We have a baby with an emerald in its mouth. So we're about to turn 4 emeralds into 5 emeralds. Look, we're so rich. So again, this is not the farm for you if you're in a normal world. You literally have a better time finding a village and trading sticks for like 30 seconds to get that many emeralds as you're going to get out of this. But in a Skyblock world like this, where you don't have an option, this is an option. And I had a lot of fun doing this. Me and Mega went back and forth with some different ideas on this. And this is what we ended up with that he's going to be building. I do believe Mango's going to be building the wolf killing version. He's been doing already a lot of grinding. So it just means that, if you want wolves to spawn, you build with snow blocks. And then you don't have to wait for the powdered snow. You can get lucky with the powdered snow and get it fast enough. So if you're going to do the wolf version, the only thing that changes is that center point inside that top kill chamber. So I definitely recommend, you already have your cauldron for your water. Go ahead and slap down your cauldron while you're building this. And on the off chance that it does random tick up, boom, you've got it. Otherwise, you get some of these snow layers, dig them with your wooden shovel. You get snowballs, you can make snow blocks, and then you can get some some wolves to spawn. And, get one of those wolves inside that center chamber there, and you're ready to go. You do need to make sure that this whole thing is in a snowy taiga. This gets tricky with 119 with the 3D biomes because you can actually have an area that on the bottom, it's snowy taiga. And then as you go up, it's deep dark. So you can see here, I'm just going up and down and we're switching biomes. You also want to make sure that you're not building in a slime chunk to get more optimal rates. The slimes won't interfere with the foxes once they spawn. The foxes will still aggro. The slimes don't care about the foxes, but you can't have mobs spawning inside of other mobs. And since those slimes are pretty big, that's going to cancel out some spawning spaces. And the other thing to note, this farm is only going to produce foxes during the day because we don't have any light sources on here because 1, we don't have the light sources in the Skyblock that we're talking about, and 2, that would melt the snow. That does mean that at night you're going to be getting a full set of hostile mobs spawning right down here, the full mob cap of 70 mobs. But then during the day, your zombies and your skeletons are going to burn. And then as long as you AFK far enough away, so you need to AFK at least 32 blocks away from that platform so they despawn, or you just leave them and then leave the area and come back. But again, you want to make sure that those can despawn to get rid of them blocking those areas for spawning. So definitely bring a bed with you as you're making this. Now that the weather cycle isn't reset by beds, you don't have to worry about that anymore and you can just skip the whole thing. So that's going to be it for this video. Once again, down in the video description will be links to Ilmango's channel, where he has the Skyblock series that's going to be uploading pretty regularly. It's a lot of fun. He has included in that first episode the mod that you can use to join along and play. And when you get the world download, there's going to be the 2 versions right here. So you're going to spawn right in between these 2 versions, so you can check out either one. Really, the only difference is the wolf kill chamber is just a bit taller, and it doesn't have the powdered snow in the middle, obviously. Want to say a big thanks to Ilmango for bringing me in on this project again. This was a lot of fun to finally give an old concept some actual life. I love this kind of farm design stuff. I'm not playing that much survival these days. I'm doing more of this creative design stuff. But I'm loving it. I am absolutely loving it. So as frustrating as this was, it was a blast. And now you have a way to get emeralds in a world that's not supposed to provide you emeralds. So I'll catch you in the next one. Have a good one. Bye.